Go ahead and get started. It's noon, and as people join, they'll join us. Welcome to Lunch with Lindsay's. And our topic for today is leadership soulology and why leading with wisdom and heart really matters. Just to give you a little bit about our background, the owners of this company and the people that you see here on our team, we have over. We've worked with over 2,500 companies over the years in 25 different countries. Feel really great to have been able to visit so many countries, sort of miss the travel, even with COVID, since COVID's here. Over 120 years of experience combined together. And, we have many clients that have stayed on with us for more than 10 years and plus, repeat business. Hello, Rosa from Mexico. Gregoire, nice to see you. Gregoire is from across the pond over in the UK. I'm Susan Robertson, the CEO and co-founder of Lindsay's Conscious Business. I have on my team here Cynthia Medaglia. She's also a co-owner and the COO of Lindsay's Conscious Business. Amira, she is our wizard behind the scenes, helping us pull together everything that we need to pull together. And Jack is our head of operations. So if you have any problems with the technology, and hopefully the internet stays on, if you have any problems with technology or any questions, be sure to let Amira and Jack know, and they'll make sure that I know as well. And so, Lindsay's we're a boutique leadership and cultural optimization company. We work with organizations, we customize to fit the needs. And, people often ask us, what does Lindsay's really mean? And Lindsay's actually means, it's a Latin word that means keen insights. And what we're trying to do for people in business is to help you optimize leadership capability, and effectiveness so that you can have a strong culture and improve performance. And that's really what we are here to do. And leadership zoology it's a hard thing to actually describe, but it's an important thing. And so in the last 2 weeks, I've been doing some executive coaching with two different CEOs, and they were looking at what they could do to really build succession. And the things that really caught my ear was when they described some people on their team, they would describe somebody as they've got it. That person can really go the distance. And that person can make the difference and help us to lead us into the future. And so what was the it that they were talking about in terms of what really makes the difference? And for me, and for what we've learned over the years, part of that is leading with soul, and they lead with wisdom, discernment, and with practice, with sound logic, with practical execution. And the real difference that I've seen over the years is that leading with soul, leadership soulology, means that the leader is humble, has humility, is a servant leader, selfless, egoless. And when they make decisions, it's really about the greater good rather than looking good. And there's many or needing to have the answers or to be seen as having the answers. Somebody in the sign up said, what's the difference between selfless and egolessness? And that's part of it. The part of egoless means that I don't have to be seen as knowing everything. And I'm selfless because I am helping to facilitate decisions that are actually for the greater good, for all stakeholders, for the employees, for the company, for the customer, for the community. And, and it's caring about humanity in the workplace, and then the ability to inspire others to perform at their best. And people that have strong leadership qualities, so humility, egolessness, selflessness, honesty, and integrity, is that when they have to make the tough calls, because we do have to make tough calls, it's balancing that head with the heart and having empathy, caring, and compassion. And in fact, I just got done finished not even 10 minutes ago working with a leader of a very visible organization, an international organization. And under stress, she becomes highly critical, and that's not who she wants to be. And the things that she kept saying over and over, she said, I want people to really see the heart of caring that I have for what we do and the compassion. Because if I'm able to do that, we'll be even better than we are today. And this was the CEO of the organization saying this. So critical skills required. There is a study done by Folkman Zenger of 332,860 bosses, peers, and team players. And they indicated that the most important skills that people needed to have to become an exceptional leader, and what we would say is leading with heart and soul at the higher level position, is that one, they have the ability to inspire. They have the ability to inspire others. They lead with honesty and integrity. Of course, they need the critical thinking skills of being a problem solver and results driven, but notice that those are uh, third and fourth in this. They need to be a great communicator, and they collaborate and have teamwork. So out of the 6 top skills, as you move further up in the organization, 4 of them are what people call soft skills. And those soft skills make a measurable bottom line difference in terms of, if you will, hard skills and hard results in your organization. But something that I've been struggling with and seeking out for the last 30 years is what really makes the difference. And for me, it's easy for leaders to make a decision. It's much harder to be discerning. And that is, besides having heart, discernment is one of the key skills that I see that makes the difference. Be somebody who's got it, as those CEOs were saying, who can go the distance, and those who don't always, who may not, who glass ceiling, if you will. So what is the difference? Discernment is your ability to distinguish. It's about understanding what the real truth is behind something. It's an ability to distinguish what's appropriate and inappropriate. And so when you look up at the definition, discernment is described as keen perception, insight, acumen. And with discernment comes wisdom. And this is not easy to teach. Whereas judgment is an opinion or an estimate or a criticism or, it's the power of deciding. And judgment implies a power differential. Whereas discernment is this ability to really understand what's happening before making a judgment, before deciding. So judgment is the ability to judge. It is the ability to decide. But also judgment can be judgmental. And it also implies finality, whereas discernment is staying open and continuing to perceive what is happening. Judgment, your mind is made up. And so when I see people who have really good discernment and they have the empathy and the heart and the compassion, and by the way, you have to have the business skills, odds are I'm going to find a really good culture. And odds are, Cindy and I are working with an organization and we see several leaders who embody these qualities and characteristics. And in that organization, and in particular in those teams, you see high performance. You see people inspired to go the distance and to do more. So I'm a yoga teacher, and there's a word called viveka. And viveka is the Sanskrit word for discernment. And the way it is described in yogic traditions, it means that you're seeing things as they are. You're not having unconscious bias. You're not putting a spin or an interpretation on it. So when for discernment, it's about having insight into seeing things as they are from that inner space of who you really are, without putting on rigid standards, opinions, or social pressures. And when you use viveka or discernment, you're tapping into something much deeper inside of yourself, going beyond ego and passing judgment. And so we use that ability to perceive in order to have good judgment, to make good decisions. So insight is seeing into something from our inner self, not being, held in by standards or opinions or emotional pressures, and then being able to use that viveka, the discernment, to perceive clearly. So it's almost like reading between the lines. And when we're able to do that, again, with the heart and with our soul, if you will, we make better decisions and we lead better cultures. So How do you develop discernment? How do you really lead with heart? How do you get rid of fear? Well, the first place to start is being mindful. So are you mindful? You know, the ticker tape constantly going on, yeah, da, 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 da. Or are you mindful where you're able to be at peace and you're able to um, hear your deeper inner voice? Being mindful where you're in that place of inner stillness where you can perceive, viveka, and discern is not an easy place to get to because as I was talking to this person I was coaching, I said, you know, I have my gotta list running all the time. Got to do this, got to do that, got to do the other thing. And so that's not mindful, that's mindful, but not mindful. So how do we develop mindfulness? And you've probably heard a lot about mindfulness. Um, so mindful leadership soulology starts with your inner state. To lead with soul, you need to be discerning, as we just discussed, and being discerning starts with mindfulness. So some additional evidence of how this works is that when, and there's been many, many studies, is that when you have leaders who lead with mindfulness and use mindful practices, there are fewer sick days. You actually have better presenteeism. You have increased productivity. Why is this in terms of, and these are just sort of health things, is because when people practice mindfulness, they're continually resetting the nervous system from a fight or flight response to a relaxation response. And when we are in a relaxed state, we are able to have a more clear mind and not a full mind. And by the way, I should have said this earlier. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. I'm happy to answer them. So with fewer sick days, and what's not put in this list, even lower attrition, that has a huge bottom line impact for any organization. So mindful practices are a form of meditation. And it's really cool because when I started all of this 30 years ago, meditation, you just didn't even hear about that in business. And mindfulness is just a form of meditation. And breath work, this is one of the things that's really important about resetting that nervous system so that you can lead with empathy, caring, so you're not getting into that stress rate. Breath work is a mindful practice so that you can stay present, so that you can stay focused. The author of Breathe, who's done a lot of research on breath work, says that the ideal breath weight is about 5.5 breaths per second. So 5.5 seconds in, 5.5 seconds out of long, deep breathing. My personal rate to get into that relaxation response is about 4 breaths per minute. Most of us don't breathe well because we're stressed. And when we are stressed, it increases our breaths per minute. So a normal person will breathe anywhere between 12 to 15 breaths per minute. When you are deeply relaxed and you're in that insightful place, insightful in terms of how you see and experience in things, and so that you can have clarity, is about between 5 to 6 breaths per minute. As I would strongly recommend the book Breathe for you to read it, because it really goes into the science of the breath. And according to the article in the National Institute of Health, there was an article done on meditation and yoga and how it can modulate brain mechanisms. And what you do when you practice mindful breathing, which can lead to mindful leadership, what you do is you create a hack into your nervous system. And when you hack your nervous system, you generate the relaxation response. This reduces anxiety. How does it do this? And I'm going to throw out some big words. It lowers GABA. GABA is gamma aminobutyric acid, GABA. All that is, it's a neurotransmitter that gets activated in your brain so that when you're breathing at 5.5 or 6 breaths per minute, this is a neurotransmitter that regulates mood and lowers anxiety. Dopamine. Dopamine is another neurotransmitter. This is what people like to, this is part of what gets secreted when you get the runner's high or when you feel like you are in flow. And so this is, again, it reduces anxiety. It reduces depression, but mostly it just gives you those happy feelings. People want dopamine rushes. That's what they're looking for. Skydivers, things like that, when they get really excited and they're motivated and their metabolism gets up, what they're getting is a bit of a dose of dopamine. Chocolate, by the way, although too much chocolate has another product called too much weight, but chocolate increases dopamine. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter in your brain that is also plays a major role in mood regulation, and that's associated with decreased depression. So you may have heard of people taking serotonin. It's called the uptakers, serotonin uptake. So what people are doing when they experience anxiety, oftentimes they experience depression. So some of those who really need the medication are actually regulating GABA, serotonin, and dopamine. But meditation can do the same for you. And again, I'm not saying that if you don't need it, because some of us, maybe we're not producing enough in our brain, but a lot of us can use meditation to help us get to that place where we can have that inner insight and become more discerning.
So we had a question from Achilles. Indicating, I recall you mentioned also 3 times 3 for focus. Is this still valid? 4 times 2 times 4 for relaxation.
3 times 3, that's the shorter breath. Yes, because that, when you're relaxed, you're breathing slower. When you are trying to focus, you actually are in a slightly stressed role. Like right now, if you were to measure my fight or flight response using an electrode, you would see that my EEG and would be in a slightly stressed mode. Now, I am not stressed like there's a major thing going on in my life, but I'm alert, I'm active, I'm engaged. So I would be breathing more at a 12 by 12. So if you think of 3 by 3, 3 breaths in, 3 breaths out, that's 6 seconds for a complete breath. Whereas 5.5, you're breathing in, 5.5, you're breathing out. Now you're at 11 seconds for a full round. So you can see the difference. So a 4 by 2, that's just another way of getting you to a 5 by 5. Four breaths in, or 4, breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 2 seconds, out for 4 seconds, that's 10 seconds. So again, you're now getting to 6 breaths per minute. So everybody's, there's different ideas out there around what is the most appropriate for breath work. You have to find your own. And so when I say 4 breaths per minute, basically I am breathing in for 10 seconds. It's really about 3.5. And then I'm breathing out for 10 seconds. That's a full 20-second breath. And then that equals 60 seconds. So you have to find what works well for you. I have up here the picture of the app that I like using, and no, I make no money on this. It's called the Serenity app. And it helps you to put in a timer so that you can actually, if you wanted to do a 3 by 3, or if you wanted to do a 4 by 2 by 4, or if you wanted to do 6 in and 6 out, you can actually set that timer, put relaxation music to it, and then take yourself through a mindful meditation breath work. And what I often do when I'm working with executives is that I will either give them their problem before they start the breath, or when I know, because you can see when somebody relaxes, when I know they've hit that relaxation state, I give them back the issue that they are struggling with. And it's amazing because when you're in a relaxed state, you get right and left brain thinking. And so even though that they were thinking about it before, when they're in a relaxed state, the right and left brain comes in, they oftentimes will go, oh, that's what I need to be doing. Yes, the book is, hi Laura, we can put in there, I just forgot the name of the author, but the book is called Breathe, and we can send that to you or post it when we send what's it called? The repeat of this, the replay. Okay. I can't stress this enough. This is something I teach. And like I said, for the last 2 days, I've been with an executive, a CEO, and we've been doing a lot of these different breath techniques to help that person find the answers within themselves that they already knew they had. Yes, it's James Nestor. Thank you. So another example of this, if you want some evidence, more evidence of this, case of Mike, he is somebody that we worked with off and on for many, many years. And he was a regular meditator. And what we found that as he brought those kinds of practices in, and it wasn't, huge, a 5-minute, 1-minute breath to start a meeting, for long, deep breathing, is that over time, of course, he had really great leadership skills. He had the business skills. He had the leadership Soulology skills. We saw 15% in cost reduction year over year for 3 years. Needless to say, they were able to increase productivity in order to get that cost reduction. They didn't have to replace as many people. Employee satisfaction from the time he started until 2.5 years later went from 69% to 85%. In that process, they reduced attrition by 12%, and client satisfaction in 1 year went up 30%. So that's really hardline evidence of what soft skills can do when somebody leads with their heart, leads with compassion, is mindful, can listen, not be defensive, and help their teams do the same thing. So what does it really mean? If you start with mindfulness, you actually reduce stress, you improve resilience, and increase focus. And you improve your ability to have emotional intelligence. And then from there, you're able to come more from your heart and have heart-based leadership and be humble, be that servant leader. Think about and make decisions for the better good of humanity, the community, your team, so you get win-win-win. So it's not only shareholder results, it's community results, it's people results, it's culture results, it's client results. And being honest, having honesty and integrity, all of that leads to having discernment, and that leads to leadership Soulology. So with that, if you have any questions, I'm available to answer some questions. And next month, Cindy and I are actually going to have a conversation on what it takes to build empowerment and involvement inside of your organization. So it'll be a webinar, yes, but it's going to be more of a question and answer and things that we've seen and things that we are currently doing with our clients to increase empowerment and to help people to help you become a better leader, to inspire people to become more involved and engaged. So with that, in 2021, just to let you know what's happening, we are going to be rolling out our mindful leadership workshop. And so look for that as we put that out in our newsletters, and happy to answer any questions at this point. Go to our website. We do have some meditations there. We have some on YouTube, and we have the repeat webinars also on our YouTube channel as well. So if anyone has any questions, that's what I have for you today. Sometimes it's hard to sit here and you don't hear anyone speaking up. All right. Thank you so much. I hope you got a little something out of this. And by the way, I'll make one more recommendation. There is a thing called Blinkist, my newest favorite app. I love apps. And what you get is, for example, if you feel like you don't have enough time to read, breathe, you can go to Blinkist, and it'll give you the 10 top things in 13 minutes from the book. It's like the cliff notes of the cliff notes of the cliff notes. It's great to have so that you can, consume a lot of information. There's so much good information out there. So I would recommend that as well. Get the Serenity app, get Blinkist, and no, I don't own them. I wish I did. So have a great evening, and thank you all. And
Stu, we have one question left.
Do you find suspension of the breath helpful? In certain, depending on what the practice is in terms of what you are trying to do, suspension of breath either on the in or the out has very distinct differences. Oftentimes what happens when we're stressed is that we hold in. So if I breathe and I hold in, oftentimes that can trigger stress, a stress response for people. So one of the things that they teach in yogic practices actually is, as you breathe out, is to really hold out, because breathing out is an act of letting go. And people actually find it harder to suspend breath after you have exhaled. But it's a great way of, so let's say I'm breathing in, I'm trying to build inner strength, but I have stress. So, on the breath out, oftentimes with this kind of breathing, when I breathe out, you breathe that stress out and then you hold it out, if that makes sense. Before you breathe in, and then you breathe in inner strength, breathe out stress, suspend the breath, holding that stress out, continuing for it to go out, and then breathe in. So thank you for a great question. If you're wanting to hold in, so when you breathe in, sometimes what you need to do, let's say I need to build my inner strength, you breathe in, you suspend your breath for 2, 3, 4 seconds. So you could do a 4 by 4 by 4, breathe in for 4, hold by 4. So I'm breathing in inner strength, holding that inner strength, and then letting go of what I don't need. And that, again, that helps increase mindfulness. It reduces the stress. It helps you open your heart, helps you have that humility, helps you to gain discernment. That leads to leadership soulology. Okay, great questions. Thank you so much. With that, have a great day, and stay on our mailing list. We'll keep doing monthly Lunch with Lindsay's webinars.